What's up guys, John Rettinger from TechnoBuffalo here. I sent out a post on Twitter to ask you guys to send me questions to see what it is that you want to know either about me or about technology. I get a lot of questions overall, whether it's via Twitter, personal email, or YouTube email. This is a nice opportunity for me to be able to answer some of the questions that I think maybe others might have as well. So let's go ahead and get started. The first question, I'm looking over here, it's because I'm reading the questions, comes from Cube Universe. John, how long does it usually take for you to make a video? Well, Cube Universe really depends on the video. If I'm doing an unboxing, for example, generally that's something I gotta do in one take. So to film it, let's say take 6 minutes. To do my editing really depends on what I'm putting in. I'd say editing probably about 45 minutes to an hour, maybe minimum, sometimes a little bit longer than exporting time. So usually per video, I'm probably looking at a good I'd say 2 hours is a fair estimate per video. So I hope that answers your question. The next one comes from user Excelida. Can't pronounce that name. Excelida. John, what was the main goal during the creation of TechnoBuffalo? And I talked about this during the introduction video. The main goal was really to create a place where you could go to get original technology content, to learn how to do things that maybe you didn't know how to do, so how-tos, and to learn more about news in a very video-centric way. I think that the technology blogging is evolving, and I think the standard text and a few picture format is dying. I think that people like the interactivity, and they like to be able to really see a product kind of 360. And I wanted to create an immersive environment. That was really what Brandon and I were looking to do. Create a platform where people could talk to each other, so a social network. But also there are a lot of aspiring tech reviewers out there, and I get a lot of messages from them. So TechnoBuffalo is going to give them a voice, give them a platform to make their own site, and if they do a good job, we'll post that content on the TechnoBuffalo main site, getting them more exposure, and also, since they're doing the work and putting out the content, have them get a chance to make some money from it too. It really just only seemed fair. So moving right along, the next question is from user YoungAceLX. John, what do you think is under Apple in the battle for making an iPhone to replace the iPhone? HTC, Windows Mobile, BlackBerry, or Android? I think what he's saying is what I think is going to possibly usurp the iPhone in terms of usability and finger friendliness. And I think the best candidate for that has got to be Android. Seeing what HTC has done with the Hero, seeing what Android itself has become with the MyTouch 3G and with the G1 and these new Samsung Android devices coming out, it's very impressive. I think Android has a ton of potential, so I really got to put my weight behind Android. It also has one thing going for it that the iPhone doesn't, that it can be released on multiple carriers. And the iPhone right now is locked to AT&T. There could be a hot Android device for T-Mobile, for Sprint, for Verizon, and for AT&T, really just broadening the user base, which would be quite nice for the developers, make the Android marketplace even bigger. So I think that Android probably has the best chance. Let's move right along. The next question is from Aaron Cook. What are your favorite shows to watch? Well, what's on my DVR right now and what I watch probably a little bit different since shows are on hiatus. I'm a big fan of True Blood. I like Entourage. I'm a big fan of Mad Men. I like the new show Hung on HBO. I just started watching Californication. I love The Office. I used to like My Name is Earl till they canceled it. There are a lot of shows that I like. Some are more popular than others, but overall, those are kind of my highlights, if you will. I'm sure I missed a few. Oh, and Lost. Gotta love Lost. Okay, so the next question comes from user Keither24. At this point, what would you do with your Mac? Would you buy a Mac Pro? Well, if I was getting a new computer right now, I would buy a Mac Pro just because I do a decent amount of video editing. So having the extra horsepower would certainly help. However, I'm quite happy with my iMac. I have no plans right now to purchase a Mac Pro, but if I was to get a new one, it would be probably the Mac Pro. So the next question comes from Rafael Singh Diaz. As a Mac user, do you think Macs can be used by professionals, like, for example, engineers, or should they stay with Windows? Well, that's actually a really good question. First, I think Macs can absolutely be used by professionals, and the fact that they can't, I think, is a very common misconception. I think anything that you could do on a PC, you could do on a Mac in the OS X environment. I found that there is almost an equivalent for every piece of Windows software on the Mac side. The argument that Macs couldn't be used for professionals, I think, is a dying argument, and I think people are starting to realize that as they start going to the Apple stores and start learning more about Macs. That being said, if there is something that is Windows only, the beauty, I think, about Macs, especially the Intel-based Macs, is that you can run Boot Camp. You can have the best of both worlds. You can have a full native Windows machine sitting right next to your Mac machine. So really you can have, well, both options. But I think in that respect, the Mac is absolutely the way to go. The next question comes from Adrienne Law 1. Where do you think Palm will go with the web OS? Do you think Palm's App Store can become strong enough to rival Apple's? I am a huge fan of the Palm Pre, particularly the web OS. I've gone on record for saying it. I said it in my reviews. I think it's a fantastic platform that is in its infancy. I think it's only going to grow. I think there need to be more devices. It needs to be on more carriers. But I absolutely think that the larger the user base, similar with Android, the more apps are going to be in Palm's app catalog. And that's just a natural progression. I think that the larger it's going to get, the more we're going to see. I think once the exclusivity from Sprint ends and we see the Pre on Verizon, and hopefully ultimately on AT&T and T-Mobile, I think we're definitely going to see their app catalog start to grow. So the next question comes from Bogo80. What is the biggest reason you would tell someone to switch to a Mac as opposed to the PC? Elaborate, please. Well, the biggest reason that I generally tell people to switch to Macs is, well, this. For the average user who doesn't always defragment their computer, doesn't go through and do, this is the PC user, who doesn't go through and do PC maintenance, their computer is going to slow down. So take your parents, for example, or an untechy friend. It's going to slow down and you're going to get crashes. The biggest reason I tell people to go to Mac is because you're not going to get that slowdown, or at least it's not going to be that pronounced, and you're not going to get those regular crashes. Certainly if you monitor your PC and you take good care of it with utilities and tools, you can keep your PC running fantastically fast. But like I said, for those of you that don't, I think the Mac, just from a stability standpoint, is a better way to go. You certainly can get viruses for the Mac, but the odds of getting one are much less because there aren't as many viruses that are written for OS X. So I think stability, I think it's a lot easier to use as well and a lot easier to learn. I think the learning curve is not very steep. So those would be the biggest reasons I would tell someone to switch to Mac over PC. Plus, you can run all your PC apps right on your Mac. Either virtualize it or just boot camp it. So really you can have both. That kind of helps people transition. So the next question comes from Fion D. John, do you know where I left my Swiss Army knife? I believe it was in your jeans pocket on the floor. So go ahead and check it out. Anyway guys, just some questions or some answers to some short questions. Hope you enjoyed. For exclusive content, be sure to check me out on Twitter, twitter.com/John4Lakers. And to check out TechnoBuffalo, obviously check out TechnoBuffalo.com to learn more about it. And for all your techy needs and some exclusive content, check out twitter.com/TechnoBuffalo. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.